Hey, what's up guys? Today I want to show you how you can lower a car. I'm going to be using my Scion XB and lowering it. A couple different ways you could go about lowering your car. The way that we're going to go about it is using lowering springs. So I've decided to try and do it a little bit on a budget, but I didn't want to get like the worst quality things. So I just got some kind of generic struts for my car, both front and back. And I also went for some Godspeed lowering springs, and I'll show you those. Here are the new Godspeed lowering springs. The tool that you're gonna want to have if you're gonna be replacing your springs or putting on new springs is these spring compressors, and we're gonna need to use those for one to take apart the old suspension, but also to compress the new springs in order to put on the struts right here. Make sure your car is on a flat surface and put some blocks behind the rear tires, and we're going to jack up the front. Start with the front side of the car, lifting both the right and left sides. Put jack stands under it, and we're ready to get to work. Remove the wheel. You'll need to remove the bolt that holds the brake line to the strut body. See if we can get it right there. I've already loosened it. Taking it out, and the way the brake line comes out. The next thing you're going to want to do is take off the two strut bolts. Sometimes they're a little tough to get off. You can tap it with a hammer or something if you want, or whatever, or a can of liquid wrench. Bam! Yeah, we sprayed it down with that. And break it loose. And you're going to want to do that for both of those bolts. And then take those out, but be careful. The whole brake assembly is connected to it, so you don't want it to fall and break the brake line. Next thing you want to do is take off the three 12mm bolts that are connected to the strut tower. When you remove the three strut bolts, you'll be able to take the strut out. Be careful not to hit any of the brake lines as it comes out. The Scion XB, there's this little rubber cover that comes off that gets you to this bolt in there. After that, what you're going to do is put spring compressors on both sides of your spring. You see I started to put one on. You put the other one on, and you tighten them down. You can use an impact wrench, or you can just use a regular wrench, but that's going to take a little longer. Compress the spring until you can actually feel that the strut is loose in there and that there's no more tension left on the spring. It's time to remove the top bolt on the strut. Now you have the old strut off. It should come apart really easily. You've got this little boot cover thingy. You've got your top hat, I think is what it's called. And then you got this little thing. So we're gonna put the new one together. Okay, so here's how the strut goes back together. The spring goes on the strut. Get the bump stop in the middle. Then put the boot rubber thingy in there. Then you'll put this little plate on there. Then the thing with the three bolts on it. Put a washer on there. And then finally the bolt goes on top. Now, you won't have to compress the springs as much, but you're going to have to compress the springs some to get the top bolt on there tight. So just to show you guys, once again, I got my spring compressors on my new spring. I did manage to get the bolt on the top on a tiny bit, but I'm still going to compress the springs a little bit, and then I'm going to tighten down the top bolt all the way, and then I will take the spring compressors off. So it's best to have two people for this. You have one person put the strut in from the bottom, and then from the top have someone else put one bolt, one nut on loosely, and then put the second and third ones on and tighten those up before tightening this last one. Then replace everything the same way that you took it apart. Now I'm doing the same thing on the other side, replacing the front left shock. Just to get a look at how much I really needed some new struts, I'm going to compress these and you can see how they don't even go back up. Push it down, and they just kind of get stuck down there. Really slow, so they were totally blown. I definitely needed new struts, so this isn't just a modification because I wanted to lower my car. I also really needed new struts. Jack up the rear and take the wheels off. So here's what happened. My son woke up from his nap, and I was trying to get the car done and get the video done before my son woke up from his nap, but he woke up and he wanted to watch Little Einsteins on my phone. So I didn't get to get any footage of me completing the rear installation of the new lowering springs. But it's simple enough, I think I can walk you through and kind of show you, even though I already completed it and my car is already lowered and driving great. So as I had showed you before, you need to lift the car off the ground. Mine is already back on the ground. You take off the wheels, and you have to have both wheels off at the same time in order to do the rear suspension. And then behind the wheel, there's only one bolt connecting the strut, and you unscrew that, and you want to do that on both sides. And then you come up to the strut tower and you just remove this one bolt on both sides, and the struts will be totally free. They'll come out, and that is going to also loosen the springs so that you can just pull the old springs out and you stick the new springs in. On the rear, the springs do not go over the struts as the front struts do. So you'll just put the springs in, and then you just attach the new strut. You don't even have to have anyone helping you, and you just stick it up through there from the bottom and put the screw on. And with these, you have to make sure you hold that with some pliers, the top of it, and then use a wrench to tighten that. Otherwise, this metal part of the strut will keep spinning. Once you do that, you just put your car back on the ground, put your wheels back on, and then you've lowered your car.